All right, I'm going to be unmuting my mic really quick. We're down to about 2 minutes. Please let me know if there's any loud feedback. I'll try and minimize my feedback on my end, okay? If you guys do hear a lot, just let me know. Fair enough?
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take a quick picture, okay?
All right, thank you very much.
Social media posts. Looks like we got about 1:35 left, and it's actually already going live. So as soon as it hits down, we'll get started. Looking forward to having everyone participate and ask questions. Please remember to click allowing StreamYard to use for comments and questions if you're visiting us and are looking forward to our interview with Mex Tax and Mex Law regarding how to invest properties in Mexico. We'll get started here in less than 1 minute. Look forward to all your questions and your participation. Thank you. Hey, good afternoon, everyone. This is Hector Aguilar with Aguilar Realty Group. We're excited to be on our Facebook Live and our YouTube Live as well as we bring you some information on how to invest in Mexico, specifically what tax and laws might be impacted, or you might be impacted, or your clients might be impacted when they invest in Mexican property. So today I have Isis Papadakis, which is our partner out in the Riviera Maya area. She's extremely knowledgeable in purchasing and selling properties in the Riviera Maya and throughout Mexico as well. We're also accompanied by Mona Coda, who is our Canadian partner, who is representing Canada. So welcome. And we also have Gerardo, who is with Mexican Tax Law. And we have, with Mex Law. And we have Ivan Aguilar, who is with Mexican Tax, or Mex Tax. So thank you for joining us. I'm excited about the opportunity of interviewing you and finding out what laws impact buyers and also what tax implications come with investing in property. So Isis, go ahead and take it away.
Well, thank you so much for being here, you guys. Now, Mex Law has been in business for over 9 years. They're a company that has a Canadian counterpart, which we really like, Gerardo. He is a certified notario in the area. Here in Mexico, just so you guys know, that's almost like equivalent to a judge. It's like very, very similar. Now, Gerardo and Ivan are going to take us through hypotheticals. Like, Gerardo, let's say today, Hector, he is not a Mexican citizen. He is a U.S. citizen. He wanted to buy a property here in Mexico. We found him the perfect studio, a couple steps from the beach, absolutely stunning. We've put down, we have our contract. We're ready. What comes next? What does he have to do on the legal side of it?
Sure. Okay. One of the most important things when it comes to purchase property in Mexico is related with the fact that if you're a foreigner and you like to buy from in what is called the restricted zone, which is 50 kilometers from the Mexican coast, in that area, you need to create what is called a bank trust in order to acquire property. This vehicle allows you to own as a foreigner, one of the most important things. In general terms, the process will be really similar from what you have in US and Canada, just with some difference. The most important being this bank trust thing, And with MexLaw, we could guide you and we will help you setting up this legal entity, for you to be able to acquire the property. You submit, the process in general is the same. You submit the offer, then you hire the attorney, in this the closing company as ourselves. We perform the due diligence, then we sign what is called a promissory contract. We prepare the bank trust, and then we meet at the end to sign what is called the title deed. After that, we take care of everything in the registration.
Gerardo, just a quick question. So a lot of foreigners are like really scared when, what do you mean a bank trust? Does that mean I don't own it? I can't use it? Can you explain what that trust is? Like what, why it exists in a sense?
Yeah, that's one of the big questions that I receive often. I could tell you that owning through a bank trust gives you the same rights as any other Mexican with that property. That doesn't mean that you are a less owner than a Mexican with the property, even if they own directly, the place. This has an historical reason in Mexico. The reason for this bank trust to exist really is because many years ago, Mexico loses part of its territory, and back then, the solution was to change the 27th article of the Constitution, not allowing any foreigner to own property. Many years later, because of the international interest, of the interest of the foreigners purchasing property, then we created the Foreign Investment Law, a law that will allow and protect foreigners acquiring property here using the bank trust. So with that, allows you to allow the foreigners to create this bank trust and have the legal certainty that if they use this legal vehicle will protect. I would like to mention that Mexico forms part of most of the international treaties with US, Canada, so that there is a lot of wrong histories in the internet about Mexico and the Mexican government that could take the property out from the bank trust. That is completely wrong. They are protected by the Mexican Constitution and also the international treaties. I would like to mention also another question that I receive often is that if I form a bank trust and the bank is involved, will the bank own this property, or what happens if the bank goes bankrupt? That this is not considered an asset from the bank. If for, let's say, any reason the bank goes bankrupt, the only thing will happen is that instead with the bank A, the bank is going to change to the bank B according to the Mexican laws, and that's it. The property is for the foreigner, and that nothing can affect that.
And Gerardo, what can they do with this bank trust? Can they sell? Can they rent? Are there any limitations, or is it literally they're owning it? It's just the documents are through the bank trust. That's the only big difference, correct?
That's right. They could do whatever they want with the property. They could rent the property. They could sell the property. They could build, remodel it, everything that they basically is their property. They could do whatever they want.
Gerardo, I have a quick question. Is there a certain time frame that this fideicomiso or the bank trust has in ownership? I understand it has an initial 50-year lifespan and then a renewable 49 years after. Is that correct?
That's right. That's perfectly right. Yeah, you form this bank trust and you have the 50 years, and then you just renew for another, in this case, 49 years.
Thank you. And I understand that, as you mentioned before, it's something that can be willed. It can be left to beneficiaries. It can be transferred to your heirs. So you have ownership rights just as normally you would here in the U.S. and I would assume like in Canada, right, Mona?
Right.
Is that how it's set out?
That's right, and it has something that it's an advantage when it comes to if you're a foreigner, you buy property in Mexico, having it in a bank trust give you this benefit, that you're gonna assign who's gonna be the beneficiary in case of death. So if the first beneficiary died, then the process to transfer the property to the beneficiary in case of death is really a straightforward process. No, the only thing that you need to do is you send a letter of the beneficiary in case of death, send a letter to the bank claiming the right to become the new beneficiary along with the death certificate. They go to the notary and then they transfer the property directly. In this case, you will avoid having to probate any will or any process in Mexico in that regards, look, which is good. You know, if you own property in Mexico, the last thing you would like to do is for your heirs to deal with the Mexican process, long processes, anything like that. It's really straightforward process. And also another thing which is really good is that there is no inherited tax in Mexico, so your heirs will not pay capital gains when they receive the property.
Oh, that's amazing. Actually, that's kind of like the next question that I want to talk to Yvonne. Okay, so let's say, Gerardo, they've done the bank trust, it's done, they have their deed, and they put the property to work. It's going to be an investment property, so they're going to be making their returns. Yvonne, what do they need to know about taxes in Mexico? Because it's a business at the end of the day. What do they have to keep in mind?
Okay. Well, first of all, I always recommend to make a consultation with an accountant first, because it would depend in the specific situation of each client. Basically, we need to know first, what are the plans with the property? If you want to live in it, or if you want to rent it, if you want to hire a property manager. So it would depend on that.
Okay, well, let's say in the specific case that they've hired a property manager because it's going to be a business. It's an investment property, which is some people will come to live in Mexico, but it would be an investment property. What would be the things they need to keep in mind?
Okay, when you hire a property manager, the transaction, it's easier. What I can recommend is to make sure that they can give you an invoice for the expenses that they are having on your behalf, and that they can give an invoice for their service. And that's it. Normally, with a property manager in the Riviera Maya, the most common operation is that they are the ones listed in the digital platforms like Airbnb or VRBO, and they send the money or the part of the money of the income for the owner. They send it to their country.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and let's a little bit talking about setting up a business, Gerardo, because I know people can also purchase not only through a trust, but they could purchase through an LLC. And I know for U.S. citizens, they can even use their IRA, and there's other forms of doing it. But in the sense of the second option, what would be if they didn't want to go through a bank trust?
Okay, sure. Yes, as you mentioned, there's two options when it comes to restricted zone, 50 kilometers from the Mexican coast. Either you purchase with a bank trust, or the other option is to form a Mexican company. The most important rule is that you need to have a minimum of 2 shareholders in order to acquire the property, to form the company, sorry. And once you have the two, there is a lot of also information on the internet that you need to have a Mexican citizen with owning as a shareholder. That's completely wrong. You could be 2 foreigners that form this company, and the process is really straightforward. You send us 3 options for names for this company. Then we create the bylaws. We sign the bylaws here at the office, and within, I said, 2 weeks, this company is formed, has the tax folio number, and it's ready to acquire property. Which one to use depends on really what are the intentions for the clients. In general terms, I would say that if you are purchasing 1, 2, or 3 property, the bank trust might be the most interesting for you. If you are purchasing more than that, the company starts being an option that you would like to explore. And because on the bank trust, you pay to the bank an initial fee, which goes between $1,500 to $2,200, depending on the bank. And then you pay an annual fee, which is around $450. But you pay that for each property. when it comes to the company, you could own 10 properties, and the cost will be the same because you're going to be paying the accountant, annually. They will file the taxes, so it starts becoming a more interesting option for you. Also, if you have already the company form, some of our clients, they come and they start a business, so they already have that form and they operate that business with the company.
Okay, so this would be something we would do a one-on-one consultation, if someone wanted to say, okay, we want to, sit down and I want to explore which of these two would be better for me personally. This would be what we would need to do, correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Now, Yvonne, if there's any big red flags or something that people really want to avoid with their properties or their investment properties, tax-wise here in Mexico, any advice you could give them?
Okay, well, the obligations are different if you buy the property through a trust or if you buy the property through a corporation. However, I think the most important thing before you or the client buys the property is to do the proper due diligence from the legal side and from the tax side. To see if there are any obligations pending, to see if all the taxes have been paid, if the property has been registered correctly. So it's better to know this all in advance. I think that would be the most important thing.
Okay, good. Mona, do you have any questions that you might have your clients thinking right now?
Everything that everyone has mentioned is fantastic. I think it's great. I think typically for any investors in Canada, Toronto is where I'm mainly at. Would this also apply to, let's say, we have teams out in India who'd be interested in also investing in Mexico. Would the same rules apply for them as well?
Yes, in general terms, they will be considered foreigners, and then they will need to acquire through a bank trust.
Okay. So what would you say would be the first steps for some investors and buyers in Canada? If they were to reach out to ISIS and they're interested in a property, what would you say would be the first 2-3 steps that they should be following?
Okay, yeah. Well, first of all, they need to have in this case, Isis, she's a knowledgeable real estate agent that would show them around,
Mm-hmm.
And once they have the property, basically, we will have a meeting, and then we could help them doing this due diligence. Honestly speaking, buying property in Mexico is really straightforward. But the most important thing is that you have a good team in your side, that you hire the right persons, that they have a reputable either real estate agents and lawyers. And if you do that, you're gonna find out that the process is really straightforward, and then it's gonna be a really happy experience.
That's wonderful. That's great. Thank you so much. Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry about that. I wanted to mention, for most of you, you may have not been around when I first started doing business in Mexico. I first started doing business in Mexico in about the mid-90s. I used to work for a mortgage company that financed property for expats, particularly in the Baja California Norte and Sonora, like San Carlos, San Felipe, Puerto Peñasco, etc. And I got to tell you that real estate in Mexico has changed dramatically over the last 20 plus years. The fideicomisos, although were established before me, a lot of investors were not really comfortable with the fideicomiso or the bank trust, and also the corporations, right? But we've seen throughout the last 20 years how much foreign investment has come into not only the Playa Riviera area or Riviera Maya, but also like Puerto Vallarta, who has a huge influx of foreign investors that are buying, marina properties or view properties or beach properties. San Felipe is a different market. Rosarito Ensenada is also a different market. But again, we have a lot of foreigners that have purchased in those regions. And I got to tell you, like Gerardo said, I believe that purchasing property in Mexico is pretty straightforward. It's almost they've done it so many times that they're very good at it. I think that the possibility of being able to finance the property and also get a fideicomiso or a Mexican corporation is straightforward. And it's really meant not only to protect the Mexican foreign laws, but also to protect the foreign investors, because as we all know, right, Mexico's #1 gross domestic product is travel and foreign investment. So I'm sure that all these particular laws, when it comes to ownership and impuestos or taxes, are for the benefit of the investors and the clients. So thank you for sharing some information with us.
Go to the pricing.
Now, Gerardo, if you could just kind of walk us through like due diligence, because in the States and Canada, this is like a huge part of the process. When you're looking through your due diligence, what are you looking for, I guess, would be, or kind of to touch base a little bit on that.
Correct. Yeah. Good question. Well, we will start with asking the seller for all the information about this property. Most important being the title deed. Once we have that information, what we do is to compare that information with the public records of the city. So we will send a person to the public records office. They will check that there is no liens or anything that might affect the title. Then we go to the municipality to check that there is no any outstanding fees in any of the seller's obligation. Talking about property taxes, there is that all the taxes have been paid, that there is no liens, that there is not anything basically that will affect the title later. Because when you hire MexLaw to take care of the closing, we will guarantee the title deed. So we want to be responsible if something goes wrong on the transaction. It's really important for us to take care and to make sure that everything is paid, that there is no debt in any of the services for the house, water services or electricity or anything that when the buyer enters into the property, they're not going to find out later that something got forgotten, that something wasn't paid. Everything needs to be in order for us to authorize that title deed, that transaction to happen.
Okay. Now, another really interesting thing, because here in Mexico or in this area, we have a lot of pre-sales. So I know that you guys, to give like a little bit of background, here in Mexico, if you're going to buy a pre-sale, first we find the pre-sale that you like. Let's say we found a fantastic 1-bedroom, 2 blocks from the beach. It's a pre-sale. It'll be ready in 2 years. So you make the promissory contract, and this is where you come in as well, correct?
That's right. Yeah, as you mentioned, there's a lot of pre-sale marketing here. There are really a lot of good opportunities, because in pre-sales, what you get is that you get a really super price. We have clients that they really make some money or good money because they bought in pre-sale, and then by the time that the property it's built already, the price already increased, and they sell the property, they make a margin, and they buy another, and it's a good business in general. Now, what we need to check in a pre-sales, because I have properties that literally the developer has nothing. They just bought the land, and it's completely they have just the trees. That it's not even clean the lot when they're gonna build. So sometimes, there's not much there when it comes to legal stuff. So when it comes to pre-sales, what is important is to find out what is the history of this developer, and what we check on the due diligence is, for example, the experience for the developer. If the developer already bought the property, would be the most important. If they bought it with a loan or not, because what we try to find out what will be the risk for the client. It's in all the pre-sales, there is a risk here in Mexico and in any other part in the world. However, we need to make sure that we minimize that risk, getting to know all the facts, and then for the client, and then the client will do an informed decision about that transaction.
Okay.
But we suggest to look at the background of the property of the developer, if they already concluded another properties, if they had any issues with that, and we deal with most of the transactions and developers on the zone. So if we know that there is a situation or this developer had a situation, we will inform the client about that.
I have a
Okay.
question for you, Gerardo, if I can interject really quick. I'm sorry, Isis. And when I was doing real estate in Mexico, title insurance was a very new thing. I know that there's Stewart title, and I think there's First American title. When you're doing your research and your background on those properties, number one, are you offering title insurance? Is that something that's common with the developments? Maybe Isis can also comment on that, because that provides, safety and security for that investment, especially if it's in a pre-sale. Like you said, like it's bare land. They just purchased the land. They haven't moved the tree, and so of course there's a little bit of uncertainty. So can you maybe elaborate on whether title insurance is part of a transaction as well?
The title insurance isn't that common in Mexico, However, our closing services already includes the what we call title guarantee. We will give you a certificate that if something goes wrong on the transaction, Meslo will correct that. That's why it's really, as I mentioned, it's really important for us to be everything super safe, super clear for the client, because we will be responsible directly if something goes wrong.
Here, as Gerardo said, any pre-sale, there's a risk, but we're always going to look at how to minimize this risk. This is why my job would be to provide really great options with great developers, and then having the legal part, to back up. Okay, so this is what happened, because normally the promissory contracts, it says in writing what's going to happen if, for whatever reason, the developer does not deliver on time. And it's important for these contracts to be very balanced, in the sense that, if there's a penalty for the developer, there should also be, they have to be, what is the word I'm looking for? Balanced contracts, to make sure that everyone is protected.
In other words, it would have to be fair and equitable for all parties.
Thank you. Yes, those are the words that I was looking for. My brain just did not find them.
It's all right. That's what we're here for, right, Mona?
That's right. This is fantastic, by the way. This is really providing a lot of information to many investors and buyers who are very interested in purchasing in Mexico. So really thank you to both of you, and Isis and Hector, for organizing this. This is amazing.
Isis, I do have a question right now, because you're in the trenches in Riviera Maya.
Yes.
What are you seeing as far as investors are concerned? Are you seeing more like institutional investors, group investors, or are you seeing like the individual investors? What are you seeing right now?
Individual, by far. The market that we have right now in Playa is amazing. For $110,000, you could get a condo 300 meters from the water, a street from Fifth Avenue, turnkey, completely ready. And it's an investment that's going to make you money, that when you come, you're going to be able to stay. The amounts that people need to invest to actually have a really decent return are far less than pretty much anywhere else. I mean, if I was going to get a nice ocean property in like Miami Beach, I know I would not be spending $100,000, maybe on closing alone, but not, on the full property.
That's great to know, because a lot of investors that want to test the market, they don't want to have to invest $200,000, $300,000, $400,000. So to be in one of the most beautiful places in the Caribbean, which in my opinion is Riviera Maya, for such little amount to invest in, I mean, there's such great opportunities. So I just wanted to ask that, because a lot of times individual investors might shy away from actually jumping on the opportunity, but you and I are going to be doing, live videos on some of those developments that are initially 110 and going up, but it's really good. So buyers and investors have options that they know that they can invest with very little.
The great thing about the pandemic, it really made the world smaller, in the sense that we are so used to now to doing these video conferences and jumping on. And if investors have a little bit of an open mind to say, you know what, maybe I could put $100,000 in to try to get my toes wet, they're going to be so pleasantly surprised, because the pre-sales are appreciating at 20 to 30%. I don't know of any other investment that will give you that in 18 months.
Aside from the appreciation, Isis, what are you seeing as far as returns on some of these investments for those that want to maybe put their properties up for like VRBO or Airbnb? Like, what are you seeing?
Normally, we're going to be talking about like a 6 to 8% on the first year. The first year is the roughest because on Airbnb and all these platforms, the thing that is most valued is the reviews. So there's no other way of getting reviews, as time has to pass. But after that, most properties will be looking at a 10% return if you have a great property manager. And that's another one of these things where you are buying a business, so your property manager is your business partner on the ground. So it's really important to choose the right fit for you, and that we also come in. I'm sure Gerardo, anyone can help. They will make recommendations on property managers that work really well. I have property managers that work very well. It's a team effort to make sure that it's not just buying a property and leaving it there. It's buying a property and putting it to work.
I think our next session should probably be with maybe a property manager or two.
That's great.
So that, investors can feel comfortable with the services they receive, and to also have an expectation, because I think the more we inform our customers and the more information they have available, the more comfortable they'll be to make an investment. So I wanted to thank Gerardo and Yvonne for taking the time to answer some questions. I know this was just a mustard seed of information on the process, but at least it gives investors and agents and brokers the opportunity to kind of understand the particulars of buying property in Mexico. I'd like to be able to finish off and invite anyone who might be interested in either investing in Mexico to send us a DM. We'll definitely put together a one-on-one with Isis or with Gerardo and Yvonne as well. And I'm sure Mona can do the same for her Canadian clients as well.
Absolutely.
Is there anything else that anybody wants to say?
I do have a couple of questions that just came in.
Okay.
I do have a question regarding, do you need to have a Mexican bank account to pay for the utilities and taxes?
Not necessarily. You could pay it. Well, there's for the utilities. For example, they have like apps where you put your credit card and you pay directly. So there is no need for that. You could go online and pay them. I have clients that they don't have a bank account in Mexico and they pay their utility bill.
Okay, perfect. And what about what would be the registration costs involved? I guess it would vary per. Yeah.
In general, closing costs might be a bit higher than what you could be used to in US and Canada, because we're talking about depending on the purchase price of the property, but they might go between 6 to 7, sometimes 8% of the purchase price, and there is a reason for that. Mexico collects most of the taxes at closing, at the moment of the purchase. But long term, if you compare what you pay in property taxes back in Canada or US, you're going to be saving a lot of money, because here you're going to find out that there's really low cost of the property taxes, what we pay every year, which is one of the 3 costs that you should consider if you own property here. One of them is the bank fees for $150. We talk about that. Property taxes, which I would say they start at $200 and you could go up to $600, $700, I don't know, something like that in the really high-end properties. And also you're gonna find out that if you pay the year in advance, for example, in December 2020, you pay all the 2021 property taxes, they give you 20% discount, 25% discount, which a lot of our clients take advantage of. So in long term, yes, at the beginning it might be a bit more what you're used to. Long term, you're gonna be saving a lot of money in taxes.
That's perfect. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. I think you've answered pretty much everything. If there's anything else, I'll have the buyers reach out to Isis and yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Those are great questions, Mona. Yes, because we got into a little bit more of, a lot of people ask, what are closing costs? Well, it's higher than the States, but our property taxes in the long run are chump change compared to what you guys have to pay in the States and Canada.
Correct.
Fantastic. Well, thank you again for those questions. Those are fantastic questions. Once again, if anyone is interested in setting up a one-on-one consultation, one of my close friends of mine, Maribel Munoz, who I've known since elementary,
Oh, wow.
that's a long time ago, guys. I've just requested a consultation on a one-on-one so that we can inform her. She's looking to buy, not in the Riviera Maya, but in Cabo San Lucas. But again, we do have partners throughout Mexico, and we can help you buy in San Carlos, and Mazatlan, and Puerto Vallarta, and Cabo San Lucas, all across the coastal areas of Mexico. So thank you for setting some time aside to watch our broadcast. If anyone has any additional or closing statements, please, the floor is yours.
Well, on my end, I just want to thank you for inviting us. I could tell you that MexLaw is here to help all the investors and foreigners that like to purchase property. And here we are the major law firm in the area when it comes to purchase property, when any type of investment in general. I would like to close from what I was saying before, that really purchasing Mexico has all the infrastructure necessary for all the foreigners to safely buy in here, all the laws in place for the investment to be protected. Really, I see no reason on when it comes to afraid from what you find on the internet, and there is a lot of wrong information there. So I will invite you to get to ask or to get close to the professionals. In this case, Isis, she's a knowledgeable realtor that she knows everything in here, Tulum, Playa del Carmen, and Cancun, and also reputable lawyers that could help you and really answer all your questions, and don't just give for granted from what is on the internet.
Fantastic. Well, thank you, Gerardo. I really appreciate you clarifying some of those myths, and we look forward to setting up some one-on-one consultations with Isis and your firm there in Riviera Maya. Yvonne, anything else that you would like to comment or update us with before we head out?
Well, thank you very much for your time and the opportunity. And I invite you and your clients to schedule a consultation with us in case you are interested to have business in Mexico. That way we can advise on the specifics depending on every situation. So you're welcome all the time.
Thank you very much, Yvonne. We really appreciate it. We look forward to having those one-on-one consultations. Isis?
Well, thank you guys so much for being here. I really hope this starts to clear up, the questions that come up with, because we've gone over what options are in Mexico, how you can buy. Here are the legal bits where they say, oh, but it has to be more complicated. It can't be that easy. And you've just seen it really is. So I would invite anyone who's curious, please book on 101, and you will be pleasantly surprised for what we can actually get you in Mexico. Have a great one, guys. It was amazing to be here with you. And
just before we let you go, Isis does provide a free tour. I know that some of the developments will actually host you for either 2 or 3 nights, so you can tour the developments, and she can take you to a few of them so you can kind of get your feet wet with no obligation, obviously, but at least you'll have an opportunity to kind of touch down, get your feet on the ground, see some of these developments that are amazing, starting at $110,000 for some studios in Playa del Carmen, just a block from Fifth Avenue, where all the action happens in Playa del Carmen. So if you are interested, again, she can set those up, and we'll help you do that. So once again, everyone, thank you for joining us on this particular broadcast regarding laws and taxes in Mexico, and we look forward to hearing from you soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.